Hi Ron. Today we'll talk about two best meta builds in the Division 2. Currently it's year 6 season 2, and these two builds, the first one will be a little bit more effective but a little bit less easy in terms of using and sproking, and second one will be a little bit less effective and but much easier to use and utilize, especially on higher difficulty, even on legendary difficulty. Both these two builds are really fun to use, really strong, and even strongholds in incursion mode on legendary difficulty you will be able to crack, and some of them even to melt. I'm even talking about Tidal Basin, one of the most difficult, if not the difficult, stronghold in the game, especially the last 10, the last boss fight with 3 turrets, where you need to move a lot and when you need to have quite a lot of survivability, good team, and quite a lot of DPS. And even many nationals were also very difficult, especially second part of the stronghold. Still, I think Tidal Basin, at least in my experience, Tidal Basin is a little bit more difficult. And of course, you will be able to do in this build the Summit Tower on legendary difficulty with no problems at all and no issues. So it's almost every single activity in the game you will be able to crack with these two builds. So what these builds are? First builds will be of the new items from this season 2 of year 6, and it will be two sets. First one is Legatus SPA. And why this set? We're using, the first thing you need to understand at the beginning, we're using assault rifle in this build. It's a first build with no exotic version. I will talk about every single build, no exotic version, and after that we'll move to exotic version of every single build. So first set we're using in the first build with no exotic, without any exotic, will be Legatus SPA. And while Legatus is giving us two wonderful perks, swap speed, and we're using AR and LMG. Good thing about this set is giving us swap speed. That is very good for LMGs. It's not very fast weapon to swap to. Quite good perk to have, like a first perk. And second one is the most important for our build. One of the most important perks for our build is optimal range, because we will use second set called Virtuoso. And before we start talking about second set, main green sets, you need to understand that when you're farming sets in the Division 2, it's very important for you to have not only 4 items, but to have particular items from the sets. You get 3 or 4 bonuses of every single set when you are wearing 4 pieces of the set, but what's more important, on chest piece, you've got additional special talents that making your sets very strong, even making their efficiency, increasing the efficiency further. And also backpack piece also giving you additional talent that is also quite strong, at least on most of the sets. So if you are not using some exotics, like for example Memento in backpack piece, like a backpack piece of your armor, definitely do make sure that you are wearing chest piece and backpack pieces, because they are making your sets, green sets, only stronger and more powerful. So why are we using Virtuoso set? It's again new set from the season. What is doing? What is giving us weapon handling? Always very good scene, magazine size and weapon damage. And main perk, it's a Symphony. Killing an enemy further than 25 meters will provide 40% weapon damage to shotguns, SMGs and pistols. But what's more important for us, 20% weapon damage to ARs and LMGs, and 25% bonus armor for 15 seconds. And killing an enemy within 25 meters will provide 40% weapon damage to MMRs and rifles, and 20% weapon damage to ARs and LMGs, and 30% headshot damage for 15 seconds. But what's much more fun in terms of using, and what's more important for us, intermittently killing enemies from both ranges. It means you're killing one enemy from one range and one enemy from another range. That is very easy, especially when you are gap closing in with the weapons, when you just shortening the distance, because almost every single fight you're starting from the distance. So when you're killing one enemy from one range and one enemy from another range, you build up stacks, and at 4 stacks all bonuses are multiplied by 2 and triggered all the same time for 15 seconds. So we're getting 40% weapon damage to ARs and LMGs simply just getting these 4 stacks. But we're using chest piece and backpack. Chest piece doubles the weapon damage of Symphony, so we're getting not 40% of weapon damage to ARs and LMGs, but 80%. And backpack piece giving us additional talents that decreases number of stacks needed to proc the Symphony, double the buffs from 4 to 3. So simply from 3 stacks we are getting 80% weapon damage to ARs and LMGs. By the way, we'll talk about skills, we'll talk about currently about sets, and after that we'll talk about SHD and skills near the end of the video, because for both builds, SHD talents and skill presets will be the same, different skill presets. So what perks are we using? We're on our items. We're using on our mask, we're using weapon damage, critical hit chance, armor regen and repair skills mod for our main healing item, and to get additional healing from different repairing skills. Almost everyone using some sort of, in almost every team you can find repair skills, and you will be using also some repairing skills, so it's very important for our build for survivability. Weapon damage, critical hit chance and critical hit damage. By the way, we're getting something like 30% crit chance, so we're critting with every third or fourth bullet, so it's very good in addition to that to increase our critical hit damage, to do even more damage with our every third or fourth bullet. On our chest piece we're using weapon damage, critical hit chance and skill duration, weapon damage and armor regen on our gloves, weapon damage, explosive resistance and armor regen on our holster, and on knee pads we are using weapon damage and weapon handling. Last one is a flex spot, you can swap to something else. I do like weapon handling to make our weapons even more stable and accurate. In terms of our weapons, if you are playing no exotics, we are using the drill assault rifle. It's one of the best assault rifles, high-end assault rifles in the game. It's perk very good for our build, but also it's very accurate and very stable. One of the most accurate and stable assault rifles, by the way, in the game, with a wonderful range and damage drop for the damage fall off, you can see on the graphic. And it's more important, it's giving us both our weapons, high-end weapons, will giving us perks, perfect precision strike, killing enemies farther than 20 meters, build up stacks, max stack is 2, and hitting an enemy within 20 meters will use all stacks to provide 35% amplified damage to enemies within 20 meters for 5 seconds. Again, very good working with both legatus, with optimal range and with virtuosa, all pieces in addition to ease of proc of chest piece and backpack piece. Perks here will be weapon damage, assault rifle damage, health damage, and last one will be flex spot on almost every high-end weapons. I'm pretty like accuracy to make my weapon even more accuracy, so it literally just shooting in one point, but you can swap to armor damage on every single high-end weapon with attribute slot. And our LMG will be, of course, cricket with the same traits, perfect precision strike, with LMG damage to targets out of cover, because almost all the targets will be out of cover, especially on in strongholds and on legendary difficulty in the summit. And critical hit damage, again, it's flex spot. I do like critical hit damage. It's pretty enough armor penetration for this build, but if you want, you can again swap to additional armor damage. In terms of modes, let's talk about modes right now. Accuracy, stability, critical hit damage, and optimal range on our assault rifle to utilize it in the most efficient way with all our items. Again, with optimal range from Legatus and from the whole Virtuoso set to proc the Symphony perk. And on cricket, we're using reload speeds. It's LMG, very important. Still, it's LMG with a very good reload speeds. By default, accuracy and stability to even max out its wonderful stats. So, but if you are using there are other guns you can use, high-end guns, if you don't have exotics or if you haven't unlocked good exotics right now for yourself. Another high-end weapons you can use is invisible hands, also very strong assault rifle with assault rifle damage, health damage, and again headshot damage if you are pretty confident in your landing headshots all the time, or you can swap to headshot damage perk attribute to again armor damage. With why this particular assault rifle? Because it's giving you talent perfect allegro that's increasing your fire rate by 15%, again increasing your overall damage with accuracy, stability, again accuracy and optimal range mode. Another very good alternative from high-end weapons will be Shield Splinter, one of the strongest assault rifle in the game, but you need to kill all the hunters in Washington DC. That's giving you assault rifle damage, health damage, and again, the last one is a flex spot accuracy. It can be either accuracy or armor damage, whatever you want, and perfect optimist talent that weapon damage increased on this gun by 4.5% for every 10% of ammo missing from the magazine. With optics rail, a 556 magazine slot and 556 muzzle slot mods. One of the strongest high-end assault rifle in the game. It's literally melting all the enemies around. So definitely do get this weapon. It's really worth hunting the hunters. Another very strong option will be Big Show. If you don't have crickets right now, it's another LMG with LMG damage to targets out of cover and magazine size, or again armor damage with perfect Thunder Strike talents. It's default on Big Show. That's why we're using these particular high-end guns with golden named guns. So we're getting perfected versions of the talents, and this talent simplifies weapon damage by 35% to shocked enemies, and after 3 kills applies shock to the next enemy we hit, with accuracy, reload speed, and accuracy mod. And another one, if you want to, if you, for example, in incursion stronghold and you need to shoot enemies from the distance, one of the strongest rifles in the game, my personal favorite, is Artist Tool, that with rifle damage, critical hit damage, and again reload speed or armor damage, is giving us talent perfect rifleman. And why this rifle is so good and so wonderful in almost all the single encounters in the game. By the way, it's literally one of the best guns overall, one of the best guns in the game currently, and it's you definitely do not wanna miss and do not wanna sleep on this gun. It's giving us perfect let me open it again, perfect rifleman legendary perfected perk that lands in headshots, adds a stack of bonus plus 11% weapon damage for 5 seconds, and max stacks is 6, and additional headshots refreshes duration, so we're doing quite crazy amounts of damage simply just landing headshots, and it's very easy with that wonderful rifle. You can see how accurate and stable it is, and we're doing even more damage with all these perks, so it's working wonderfully, especially with our 2 builds. But if you want to use exotics, it's the same for both builds, weapons and exotics you are using. One of the best will be San Elmo's, of course, San Elmo's engine, one of the community favorite guns. It's one of the best guns on legendary difficulty with assault rifle damage, health damage, and rate of fire, or again armor damage perks. And here, what's more important, it's exotics coming with a particular perk, like always in most of the looter shooters, and perk here is shooting an enemy with this weapon will give you 1 stack, and at 4 stacks the next magazine will be 100% filled with shock ammo, so you literally just stunning all your enemies with something like 70 bullets in your magazine. Another one is a strong, my personal one of the favorites and one of the best exotics for this particular build is Trigger. Again, with assault rifle damage, health damage, and either critical hit damage or armor damage. That's its main exotic perk. It's killing an enemy with this gun will apply a mark on every enemy within 20 meters on it, and multiple marks can be applied to the same enemy, and max number of marks that can be applied to enemy is 5, and all marks on enemy will disappear 10 seconds after the last one has been applied, and deal plus 15 amplified damage per mark to marked enemies. So it's you literally just turning into DPS monster with this particular assault rifle. By the way, these two builds, they are not max DPS possible in the game. You can do even more DPS in the game. This build is more about one of the highest DPS possible in the game, in addition to some flexibility and survivability. Another very good exotic you can use is Pestilence. It's more like a suppression LMG that's giving you wonderful talent. Plague of the Outcast, hits apply at the buff, dealing 100% weapon damage over 10 seconds. This takes up to 50 times, and whenever an enemy dies within this debuff, 100% of the stacks and are transferred to a nearby enemy within 25 meters, with, of course, LMG damage to targets out of cover, and stability or armor damage, whatever you like more. And the last thing you can use in this build is Vindicator rifle, my personal favorite exotic and one of the best rifles in the game. Exotic rifles with rifle damage, critical hit damage, and swap speed, or again armor damage. Why this rifle is so good? While scoped, the weapon will highlight a random body section of each enemy, and the weapon amplifies damage to 60% weapon damage to highlighted body sectors. Very strong rifle, and it's literally, again, it's some sort of reference to the divinity from Destiny 2. Very fun weapon to use and very strong weapon to use. Exotics you can utilize in this build. There are two exotics, armor exotics you can use. One of them is Catharsis. It's one of the strongest exotics if you are playing legendary difficulty and higher difficulty, or if you are playing solo and you are struggling. Because what Catharsis is doing, by the way, you need armor, incoming repairs, armor regen, and repair skills. What Catharsis is doing, taking damage build stacks to a cap of 30, and each stack grants 15% weapon damage. Taking damage at max stacks triggers a purge, removing all stacks and status effects, and then dropping a healing cloud, which restores 5% of max armor for 10 seconds to all allies in the cloud. So this particular exotic literally just saving the life of your allies, of yourself, and additionally giving you additional weapon damage. So it's very, very strong, and I highly advise you to use it on legendary difficulty to save backpack piece bonus and your chest piece bonus. But if you are playing solo, or if your group is good enough, if your group is able to melt enemies and your group damage is high enough, or you are playing lower difficulties like, for example, challenging or even heroic, you can use on heroic. There is another very good exotic for both builds is, of course, Memento with weapon damage, armor, and skill duration modes. Why this particular and skill tier +1? Why is this particular exotic? Because it's giving you perk for all your enemies you kill, drop a trophy on death, and collecting these trophies there will be some sort of collectibles like loot that enemies drop. It looks like the same like a loot, but with this particular, you can see at the right side of the screen there is a hand mark in the middle of it, so you need to run through it to collect it. And collecting these trophies, these collectibles will provide both a short and long-term buff, the first of which scales with the number of core attributes equipped and lasts 10 seconds. +5 weapon damage if we've got, for our build, it's weapon damage, of course, and for 10% bonus damage, and then 5% skill efficiency, depending on which stat is maxed in our build. And for every trophy collected, gain an additional 1% weapon damage, 1% skill efficiency, and 0.1% armor generation for 3 100 seconds and maximum on 30 stacks. So you can see how powerful this exotic is, but you need to move quite a lot among the enemies, so make sure you are not risking enough. If the activity is difficult enough, if you are dying from 2 or 3 bullets or even from 1 bullet in some encounters, do not use memento, better swap to catharsis. On higher difficulty and on higher difficulty activities and on legendary difficulty, better use catharsis to save your group and to save your life to get in and to get additional weapon damage. Second build will be, of course, it will be our favorite striker set that a lot of people are currently using, and it's very strong, it's very powerful, and it's much easier to utilize. So what sets are we using in this particular build, in the second build? I do like Bellstone Armory because it's given us 1% armor regen, and yes, 1%. It's still very strong because our main skill we're using will be Healing Drone, and every single percent of armor regen adding additional power to our armor regen from every single source, both skills and other sources. So 1% is not big enough, still it's very good, like a first bonus of the set. And second one will be, of course, armor on kill bonus. So this is why we're using Bellstone Armory. You can use another sets, for example, also very good Palisade still works, that's also giving us armor on kill on the first bonus 10% and additional health. I do like Bellstone Armor a little bit more. And the second set we're using is striker sets that giving us weapon handling, rate of fire, and what's more important, weapon hit increases total weapon damage by 0.65%, stacking up to 100 times, and 1 stacks lost per second between 0 and 50 stacks, and 2 stacks lost per second between 50 and 100 stacks. What's more important, so we're getting 65% weapon damage on max stacks. What's more important, chest piece increasing max stacks for striker gamble from 0 to 200, from 100 to 200, and 3 stacks lost per second between 100 and 200 stacks. So it's much easier to control our set, and it's much easier not to lose that much weapon damage per stacks. And our backpack piece is increasing our damage even further because we are getting increases total weapon damage gains per stack of striker gamble from 0.65 to 0.90%. So we are getting 90% weapon damage from this wonderful set, simply just hitting enemies. What perks are we using here? We're using, of course, armor, hazards, protection, health, and repair skills. We're using weapon damage, critical hit chance, skill duration, critical hit chance, and weapon damage. Last critical hit chance, again, it's a flex spot. You can swap to something else, like, for example, armor regen or additional skill duration or hazard protection or critical hit itself. Damage from critical hits, but I do like additional critical hit chance for this build to max out our weapon damage. Weapon damage and hazard protection on the gloves. On holster it will be armor gen critical hit damage, and on knee pads it will be weapon damage and repair skills. So you see what are we using in this build, but what can we use in terms of exotics? It's pretty the same Sans in terms of weapons. Sans, Elmos, Engine, Artist, Tool, Striga. We've already been talking about this gun, so I will just name it this time. Pestilence, Vindicator, Invisible Hands, Shield Splinter, Z-Drill again, Big Show, Crickets, and of course, yeah, here it is. Oh, for example, Lexington, if you've got good perks on Lexington, of course. But if you are using, if you are playing legendary difficulty or high difficulty, you are struggling again, you're using catharsis. But if you are playing, for example, challenging or heroic difficulty, or if your group good enough so you can run around among the enemies and collect collectibles, trophies from the memento, you can swap to another version of this build with memento exotic. This time you will need to get 4 pieces of striker set without that very strong backpack that's increasing your damage even further, but memento will still do a wonderful job. So If you are using Memento, you will need to get 4 pieces, and it doesn't matter which pieces you are wearing. Still, I highly advise you to get, as always, chest piece to get at least 1 additional talent. This will be press advantage talent. And the last slots we're filling with the regular set. It can be again either Bellstone Armory, 2 additional 1% armor regen, or if you want additional armor on kill, 10% additional armor on kill, you can use Palisade Steelwork. I do love Bellstone Armory still, so I mostly use my Bellstone Armory with Memento. And again here, armor, hazard protection, health, and repair skills, weapon damage, armor, skill duration, skill tier, traits, talents, weapon damage, critical hit chance on our chest, weapon damage, hazard protection on our gloves, on our holster we're using weapon damage, hazard protection, and on our knee pads we're using weapon damage and repair skills. What the skills we are using in this wonderful builds? So first combination will be drone plus turret, and drone will be, of course, fixed drone that will heal us and repair our armor over time. It will be duration or deflect duration modes, armor repair, and it will be health for our wonderful drone. Oh, whatever you want as a flex spots. On our turret we're using duration, we're using additional damage and additional duration to make our turret even stronger and to lasting it longer. Another combination you can use in these both builds will be Hive. Of course it will be Restorer Hive with healing, health, and slim charges modes. And for example, a CM launcher, also very strong skill that literally just melting and reducing armor of your enemies, and some sort of not stunning but neutralizing your enemies for several seconds with duration and additional damage modes. By the way, when we are talking about turrets, of course you need let me swap to the first build. When we're talking about turret, of course it needs to be assault turret. And another very strong combination you can use in this particular both builds is again fixer healing drone with the same our modes. And second one will be shield, and shield we're using in this, let me open it in another way. Shield we are using will be Crusader shield, for we can use our rifles and assault rifles. And when we are using Crusader shield, you need here shield health, another shield health, and holstered regeneration. Still there are quite a lot of different options, but I do like this. You can use another holstered regeneration instead of 1 shield health. Still I do love 2 shield healths and holstered regeneration. It's still very fast skill in terms of charging. But if you are playing legendary difficulty, there are 2 combinations for legendary difficulty for you to utilize. First one will be, of course, Reviver Hive with healing, health, and steam charges, because it's one of the strongest options for you to simply just to survive almost everything, because it's giving you it's not only helping you to revive your allies, you can drop it into your allies' bodies to revive your teammates, but also if you've got this skill active, it's not on cooldown. If you are dying having this skill on your belt, it will revive you automatically and save your life and maybe save lives of your teammates. So one of the most important things, especially when you're playing legendary difficulty. Another will be, of course, assault rifle with duration, damage, and skill haste. And second combination for legendary difficulty, my personal favorite, and one of the strongest combinations for legendary difficulty, especially for some like Tidal Basin and Main Zoo, will be again Revive Hive with healing, health, and steam charges. And second one will be Decoy, holographic distraction. Decoy, the strongest skill in the game on higher difficulty. It will save your life literally just almost every single second with duration and additional health of the decoy itself. But what about, we've been talking about almost everything in this build. What's in terms of our other things we are using? Another thing, what about our specialization? In our specialization, we're using, I do like grenade launcher, still we can use demolitionist minigun specialization, but in terms of specialization, we're using demolitionist with grenade launcher, and here you need pretty everything. And when you are using assault rifle plus LMG, you need assault rifle EMI plus onslaught perks, but if you are swapping to rifle, you just swapping onslaught passive talents to this is my rifle passive talent. Very strong specialization with a very big amount of damage from the grenade launcher itself. And now the last thing we need to talk about is, of course, SHD talents. And it's quite obvious you need all the SHD talents, but in which order you need to unlock your SHD talents if you're just a new player and if you are just starting the game. First one, your main priority will be, of course, weapon damage. Second one will be critical hits. After that, headshot damage and critical hit damage. In blue tree, your priority will be total health. After that, hazard protection and total armor and explosive resistance. In a yellow tree will be first one you need to unlock will be skill duration, skill repair, skill haste, and skill damage. And in green tree, your priority will be first one will be accuracy to make our weapons even more accurate. After that, reload speed, ammo capacity, and the last one will be stability to make our weapons even more stable in addition to everything. So here it is, guys. You see how strong this build. You will be easily able to both melt hunters and to do all the legendary activities. Almost every single activity you will be able to do in these two builds with exotic or no exotic versions. It's the same with weapons are pretty the same for both builds, and exotic options and skill options are the same for both builds. By the way, the one thing I need to mention is, of course, grenades. I'm really like concussion grenades. Still, we can use fragmentation grenades. Still, I do like concussion. It's doing quite a big amount of damage, and it's very strong and good in all the situations. And so here it is, very strong, very fun to use, not very difficult to use. First build a little bit more difficult in terms of using and utilizing and proccing. Second one a little bit less effective. Still, it's very strong. So here it is. Choose whatever you want, and good luck in the field. So here it is, guys. Don't forget to click like button, subscribe to channel if you want more videos like this. Also, I might will do in the future tanking builds and healing builds for the Division 2, and check our different guides built on Elder Scrolls Online, Division 2, different urgent news guides, builds, etc. Horizon Forbidden West, Ghost of Tsushima builds and guides. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Good luck.